which is a good thing. Let's go over to our guest. Let's introduce to you. Hey, Marky.
Hey, mate.
Yes. I didn't. Whatever. It's sometimes good to not talk about all your issues that are going on in the background, which I am doing right now. But I get annoyed sometimes, and it's live. It's what's happening.
It's true, and the more you talk about it, the more you draw attention to it.
Yeah, but
although admitting to a mistake is charming.
Oh, where would
I just remember when we would play big shows, and Nick would always mess up the lyrics to a song he'd do on his own. And honestly, I don't know whether he did it on purpose or not, because every time he did it, it was always the biggest crowd reaction, and actually draws them in because you go, oh, they're human.
He's real.
They're real, yeah. And so I never figured out whether he actually never learned the lyrics to this particular song, and it was one of our singles that he used to do an acoustic version of. And yeah, I don't know whether he'd never learnt it or he was more cunning.
If you have just tuned in, we are speaking to my good buddy Mark, who I knew before he was famous, so I'm not full fanboying mode at the moment. Well, I didn't know you super well. All I remember about you, mostly.
We went to high school together.
No, we went to high school together.
And we've got a lot of mutual friends.
And continuing mutual. How interesting is it? Like, we're racing to discover all the cool people in the world, and you seem to be winning at the moment. You took over Bob. Bob's my mate. Now you got an invite to his house before me. Annoying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You can. It's not about the ladder. But no, it's good to know that we like the same things in people. You just talked about band stuff. Literally, did Nick literally forget words to a song that's super famous?
He would always forget the lyrics to tunes, which me and him would always just laugh about, because I would be like, I know the lyrics, I've never even sung. I'm not even the lead singer of this band. But those things are what make gigs fun, because you do the same thing every night, and it's the funny bits on stage, the shared joke, the glance across the stage to you, mate. That's at the moment what I'm really missing, is that camaraderie you get from playing shows. Like, this is probably the longest period of my life that I've stayed in one place, at least since I lived with my parents. When I was at high school. Wow. And even so, I probably went to mates' houses on the weekend and stuff. So it's quite a bizarre time.
I totally forgot. I was literally telling you about my memory about you. It's you we're at a party in Geelong West. I don't know whose it was, but you were in like a gridiron outfit.
Oh, surely not. That's later. That's much later. That was at Alex, but it was a friend of ours party.
Or you were in some dress up.
Probably.
You're in some crazy. No, what? Yeah, you're right.
Being in showbiz, so I was probably a little, little flam.
You were showbiz and
a little show offy.
So it's not the gridiron photo. So I'm getting mixed up. I remember going to a party and you were dressed up way more than everyone else in some crazy outfit. Well before you became a frontman sorry, not a frontman.
I wish.
But anyway, that's interesting. If you are just tuning in, we are speaking to. I'm doing it again, bass guitarist Jet. I hate it. Let's talk about something else.
Sure.
You just finished. I had no idea you were crafty with your hands other than slapping bass, and you've just gone ahead and retransformed the gasometer with your bare hands, bare knuckles. Just in your shorts.
Pub in Melbourne, owned by a mate of mine, very good mate of mine. We're obviously struggling at the moment. It's a live music venue.
So the Gaso shut?
Pardon?
So the Gaso as a live music venue,
it's shut at the moment, obviously.
They stopped.
But we'll see. I mean, it's struggling in that, that place needs to be full of punters to make money. That's how they do it. They put a band on, and then 150, 200 people come down and drink beer. So they're struggling. So Shan, my mate who owns it, I've got another mate who owns an organic food business. It's a butcher and fruit, vegetables, blah, blah, blah. And he's crushing it. So I put the two guys together, thinking like because Shan is also a tour manager. He's worked for the Queens of the Stone Age. He's Jets tour manager. He does giant tours for big promoters over here. So that's his normal job. He just has the pub as this sort of like side thing.
Yeah.
So he's got both of his jobs don't exist. And Shan's really smart.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
the thing. These people in the music industry have got so many transferable skills, but you never really led to believe that you do, but they're the hardest working, especially on the crew side, man. And they're the people that are getting forgotten at the moment as well. Everyone's like, oh, bands can't play, poor artists, but also there's so many other people who can't work. Yeah. That sort of, it's not as at the forefront of people's thinking when they think, oh, there's no tours, but there's guys who are riggers, who put up lighting rigs who can't work too, and guys and girls and all kinds of stage techs and people like that. So anyway,
all those hidden. You're right. All those hidden people that
like to put on a show that we would do would probably be about 50 or 60 people.
Wow.
Involved, not on our, not all of our crew, but like to put it on, you've got all the bar staff, all of the, riggers, the PA company, all their staff, the drivers, everybody. So, it's quite a deep industry. And sorry, I've got off topic there, Troy.
Oh, mate.
It's close to my heart, mate.
Oh, vent on. If this is the first time you've talked to someone about it, I'm here for you.
Sorry, I'm sitting on quite a low couch here. It's trying to get comfy.
Were you trying to go for the look instead of what's practical?
Yeah, I was actually. Trying to get the framing nice for you.
How does Mark Jet at 7:30 in the morning interview on my couch look?
Yeah. Well, this is I'm in my studio.
Are you in your
now.
studio? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued personally, but I'm sure everyone else is. What do you do in that studio now?
Now, nothing. The studio's in the back of my it's a separate building to my house. So I walk out my back door, through the garden, and then upstairs into the studio, which is kind of like, it's like my little office / studio. It's where I'll keep all my gear, and it's where I work. And if I'm doing anything, I'll come out here. And now my wife's got a computer set up here as well. She's got an office at the front of the house, but she's got a computer set up here because she's doing like a bit of work for the Department of Health, and they work from home. But we have a 2.5-year-old, and if you try and do work inside at the moment, it's like serious work. You do not get it done.
Really? Is it that hard?
Yeah.
I do underestimate like how hard it can be. But what's your? Oh, Jane Blackson said finish the Gaso Renault story.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with having a friend on the podcast, on the radio station, is we're just going to chat. So I introduced Shannon to my friend Oliver, who has the Hagen's Organics, this food company. He's doing really well because they've got this great online delivery service. So everyone, he's one of the few businesses that are actually doing really well at the moment. And I introduced them, and then so Shan's come on, and he's in charge of all of their. He's now he used to be an amazing tour manager. Now he's tour managing fruit and vegetables. So he's basically the head of their fruit and vegetables, ordering, and it's a big business. Like, it's a lot of stuff. And then they decided to sort of use the band room at the gas to do all the vegetable box packing, because they're packing these boxes and shipping. And they've got this big room that's not being used. So now that's being paid for. So now
Cool.
There's some rent coming in, some, for the band room. And then we were looking at and then the front bar is someone set up a little bottle shop. And then we're looking at the dining room, and we're like, this could be a little shop, because we've got all the stuff here. We've got everything here. Maybe we'll just make a nice little shop and then open it up and rent that room too. So we did it, and then my mate Ollie was like, well, do you want to build it? And I was like, sure, I'll build it. And, I haven't really...
what have you built? Like, what's your resume for completed...
I don't know, just like things at home. My dad was a tradie, so, I grew up around it. But,
So what, to before the Gaso, what was kind of your most... most finished product that would have really stuck out in your resume before the Gaso fitting out a shop?
I don't know, mate. Like, just stuff around the house, I think one of the keys is having the right tools, and I do like having good gear. So I've probably gone out and bought like equipment well above my station.
Did you also build, it looks like you like putting people together like me. Like you did, and that sounds like what you did with the Gaso. This job, you're like, hey, I know you.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's great. You also produced a comedy show.
Yeah, I mean, not just me. I put together a show with some friends, Stephen Curry, known from Newcastle, Ryan Shelton, who's he's one of the smart. Do you know Ryan? Have you heard of Ryan?
No,
Shelton?
I know he looks exactly like John Trethewey at times, but
he does. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
I know
he's like
Ryan
a
Shelton.
Small, like distilled version, and probably a bit more. Anyway,
a bit more a lot of things, but
yeah.
Ryan he was on TV doing comments. Was it on the original Rove? Was it Rove?
He was, yeah. So, and he is like he
so
produces
funny.
all the Hamish and Andy shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, got you. Okay.
He's very clever, very funny. Like when you meet comedian types, the ones that are just super, you just know like you're hyper intelligent.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, got you.
And Dave Lawson. So you might know Dave from Dave and Steve did the football ads.
It's the funny. Yeah. You got some of the
mates
funniest
of mine, and we
people
just decided to do a live Tonight show at the comedy festival, but it looks like we pretend it's being filmed for TV, but there's no cameras.
Yeah.
So we would get the guests on from the festival. It was like a late night sort of boozy show. And it started off. We started off in a small room with just 100 people, and that last comedy festival it sold out. So we moved up to like a 350, 400 cap room.
That's gold.
Sold that out. So we had a whole run booked this year in that big room for 8 weeks, and then it all got cancelled.
Oh, when was the comedy fest?
It didn't happen this
November.
year.
Oh, is it already? Would it already been?
April. Yeah, it's April. Yeah, so that was one of the first thing. That was actually the first thing that got cancelled, and I was like, "Hang on, a bunch of stuff's going to get cancelled this year." We'd written it and it was ready to go, and we were all locked in. We had the room, had the guests, had really good guests, and 8-week run. I think it was 4 weeks. Sorry, it's 4 weeks for 4-week run. 8 week. What am I talking about?
Oh, that would have been really exciting. Like,
yeah,
and heartbroken. Like, build up. Let's build on last year.
Yeah, but now since then, so many things I've been involved in have been cancelled that it's just kind of normal. Disappointment has become like a pretty easy to deal with. Easy to deal with emotion these days.
Yeah, there's a lot of people walking around in uncertainty world, just as a standard
and
day.
I'm just trying to be grateful for all the things that are good. So I don't want to get too upset about a show that I wanted to do being. The way I see it is that it'll all come back eventually. And when it does, people will be hungry as for entertainment and fun, That's the thing. Like, so I while it's quite stagnant and annoying at the moment, especially for us down in Melbourne, you're not even in Melbourne. So
no, I'm in down in G-Town.
When it does come back, people will be hungry for it and will be hungry to give it to. Everybody I've talked to.
Hey, what has this done for your career?
What this? This.
Please feel free to strum it or air guitar it. Like just.
I mean, I've got all my guitars in here, but I'm not going to do it for you.
What's that done for your career? You've been a little bit less profiled than probably the rest of the band, but still, you're out. You're Geelong friends. You're famous.
Yeah,
but you're definitely.
I got a lot of these. Oops.
Yeah, and what are they?
That's actually a gold record from the UK.
And what does that mean? You've sold a certain amount of records.
That one is 100,000 copies, and the one above it is 300,000, which you can't see for the UK.
Is that what's platinum?
That's 300,000 in the UK is platinum.
Have we got different measurements in Australia?
Yeah, it's popular. I mean, it's all different now because people don't buy records. We put records out when people still bought them. It's true. Like we were like one of the bands that bridged the gap between people. Our first record sold like, 1 million in America, 800,000 in Australia. And now you'd struggle to sell 30.
I was you made a really interesting decision. You were with a band at the time when you got asked to come and play for this unknown unknown band Jet, you were doing okay, like on the local kind of Victorian scene, or you just kind of
Yeah,
you were enjoying it?
I mean, we weren't really. I mean, this was a band that I started with. I was in a band I started with my mates from high school still, and I met the Jet guys, and they asked me to come play with them. This is before Jet was a thing.
Yeah,
and I decided to do it, which was a hard decision at the time because it was like leaving your mates and stuff, but. I'd be pretty disappointed in myself, right? If sitting here right now, you probably wouldn't be talking to
No, I would. I would love to hear about your woodwork classes that you. No, man, you're a good guy.
Company.
You're a good guy. You're of high value already before Jet, pre-Jet.
Yeah, I mean, that song that you played, then "Are You Gonna Be My Girl?" It's like, I remember recording it in the studio when I was like 22. And I'm 40 now. It's a long time ago, man.
Wow.
It's nearly 20 years ago. But when I hear it on the radio or what, because you hear it all the time, TV, radio.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like me. Like it's such a ubiquitous tune that it doesn't feel like I had anything to do with it. You know what I mean? Right, it's a weird. It's like that with a lot of that first record because it was like so long ago. It was so big, and it was like quite life defining. It becomes like this hazy memory. Like I remember so much, but it's also a blur at the same time. Like
you can't remember. Did you come up with it?
The thing, it was kind of like a guitar riff.
Okay, and so did you played it, and you can't remember what it felt like to be a 22-year-old playing it for that. I remember nervous time.
I remember physically being in the studio. Like the thing is, when we went over to make our first record in LA, I'd never been out of Australia before, so that was my first time.
Right.
First time I ever had a passport because, I could never afford to go on holidays. And so that was like, I went to LA, never been out of Australia, never made a record, other than one under my own steam, that we'd paid for, like small things. In like one of the world's most famous studios, Sunset Sound, which you could look that up, and the amount of records made there.
Give us a couple of iconic ones.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna just get my phone out here and do this.
Yeah, go.
It's like honestly, it will be one of those studios that pretty much every record
really
would have been.
Hey, if you are just tuning in, we are speaking with Mark Wilson, intro bass guitarist for "Are You Gonna Be My Girl," but also features heavily on other songs
too. That's all I played on, yeah.
But you also had a dabble with the piano at some stage, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, like that was.
Why not?
Look What You've Done was another big song off that record. That was one of those songs where I actually played that piano part as a guide. And we ended up keeping it because we got.
I'm gonna play it. This is you.
Yeah. It's not very competent piano playing, but I was the best of a bad lot,
I love it. Yeah. Who's on Sunset Records?
Sunset Sound is the studio. People like Paul McCartney, Van Halen, James Taylor, Doobie Brothers, Bee Gees, Whitney Houston, Barry Manilow. It's pretty much
spot.
Even like the soundtrack to Mary Poppins, 101 Dalmatians,
right.
Sly and the Family Stone, Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong. It's just like the who's who. The Stones have recorded there.
And that was where you went.
Led Zeppelin recorded Led Zeppelin 4 there. Any big record of a certain year, it would have been recorded there.
And you're going in there.
I'm going in there
fresh from Geelong.
22. Like I'd only lived in Melbourne for a year. I was pretty much straight out of Geelong.
Mate.
I had no work experience. And the thing is, back then, I feel like the world was so much smaller. Like there's kids who are like 14 now who know more and are way cooler than I was when I was 22. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Not way cooler, but I know what you. Yeah, they've got options of fashion and.
They know more about the world. Whereas we didn't even have internet. Like the internet wasn't even on. You didn't even have it at your house. I didn't even have it at home at that point. you know, if you went to a hotel, you had to go to the lobby to go to the business center to use the email to send an email to your friend, you know.
I used to go to the GPAC and use their free internet for an hour, put my name on the board and log into ICQ chat and chat with randoms.
I remember having it at high school and we'd all line up in the library and wait, you get 15 minutes and then you just look up photos of like Mr. T because you just didn't know what to look up. You had no baseline for what you could do on the internet. So you just went, I'm just going to look at photos, funny photos of stuff. And you'd wait for it to download the photo of Mr. T.
Hey, good morning, Nat McEwen. McEwen's Rooney, Nat, Carly, Will, Flo. I know someone. Hey, I used to go to Nat's house and play internet. That's I've just dropped into 19. I've just dropped into the 90s language so quickly. We used to listen to NBA basketball games, listen to them, and watch the ball move on one dimension on a graphic thing, and watch the ball, and then
That was exciting.
You couldn't wait if you wanted it quicker. If you didn't want to watch the action of the ball moving, you could watch the comments go down, and it would be like 5 seconds ahead. Like, you know, Magic Johnson passes to assist, AST, boom. So you'd watch that and be ahead of the ball. That was a treat.
Amazing. And that was fun, though. Like, imagine watching that now.'d be like, this sucks. Like, show that to a kid, a 7-year-old, and they'll be like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
So you're hitting the studios. You're fresh out of Melbourne/Geelong.
Yeah.
When do you realise this is a beast? Like, when do you go, or do you never?
I mean, it was already, you know, like to the fact that we were over in America recording our first record meant that to me that things were going well. But, you know, that was not a given that people were going to like it. That was just that a record company thought we were good.
Was there community noise going?
I didn't even know when I was recording. After that song was done, I didn't even know if that was was going to be such a juggernaut. But, you know, it's harder to know when you're in it, you know. Yeah.
Like
I'm grateful.
I know. What's a moment like when you go, like, I'm trying to think of what was normal for you. Like, did your mum call you, or did your sister call you and go, Mark, I just seriously heard your song. It's all over Australian radio right now. And you're like,
it was a slow burn. Cool. Like, it doesn't just come out. I think the time was when I was like, hang on a second. Like, it all came together in Australia anyway. It was like we were on tour doing the Big Day Out back when that existed still.
Yeah.
And we were playing a smaller stage because, you know, you booked 6 months in advance and we were still nobody. So we're playing a smaller stage earlier in the day. And, but at the same time, our record had just come out and everything was just sort of blowing up, and we won the Hottest 100 and we were playing on the small stage. So every day it was just like, we're playing this small stage and it was just like crushed. People were just packed in. And it was all happening at once. It was crazy. It was like for about 3 years, I didn't get any bad news. It was just like constant, like,
oh, that's unreal.
Which was great. But it's, you know, it's when you first start, and then when real life actually sets in and things aren't always going your way, it takes a lot to, you know, when all you get is good news and you know, dopamine hits. When something goes wrong, it's really hard to deal with. And, you know, you kind of get suspended. I always tell people you kind of get suspended a bit when you're a musician, like, or something like that, and you're successful. You get kind of suspended in that state of age. So that kind of like that sort of mental state, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I see it happen all the time, and you kind of just get suspended there because that's just what you just keep doing the same thing all the time.
So you're getting
when everything kind of like, we broke up for a while in 2010, and at the end of it, I was like, I don't know how to do anything. Like, I just felt like all I'd done is play music, and everyone else had organized, you know, my career and stuff.
Which was enough.
Pardon?
Like, it was enough. Like, which was enough. Like, to just play music.
Your
life was pretty well supported.
But then when you have to go back to figure out how to do life, pretty wild. But, you know, I'm all good now. But, you know, like, it is a learn. It sounds crazy, but if you're not in it, it's really hard to understand. I'd say sport would be a similar thing, you know, professional athlete who their whole career from when they're, you know, focused from when they're a kid to, because that's the same thing with music. I often think I started playing and wanting to do this when I was 12, you know, and that's pretty much what, you know, and you just work towards it. That's all you want to do. That's all you want to do. And and it takes skill, but it also takes a lot of luck too, I think, you know. But so but when you finish, you just like, you see it happen with sports people all the time. They don't know what to do with themselves. But I've slowly figured it all out. Now I can build a shop, Troy.
Well, that is an interesting little journey that you've missed. Like, so the tough times, what are the cons? What are the cons of a lifestyle like that? And were you, and you just said not many people can relate to it. That might have been isolating, but did you have heaps of, is there muso psychs? Is there people to go to that, or do you just speak to other people in the industry going, man, what do you do?
I don't know. I've got a pretty good network of friends, as you know, that I've been friends with since I was 12, 13. And some, like one of my best mates I've been friends with since I was 5, which is Rene, a friend of ours. So, just having those people around you, I'm the kind of person, like, I'd never want one of those people to think I was sort of up myself or something, because it'd disappoint me to think that they think that of me,
yeah, totally.
So I think that's kind of thing, like, has kept me relatively grounded.
Did you see many people did you see many people in the industry around you change when you just go, oof?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. But you also, there's a part of you that kind of has to do it, because it's a pretty surreal way of life, so you kind of have to change in a way just to protect yourself a little bit. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. Everyone deals with things different ways, and everyone's got thing going on that you might not see. So, you got to give everyone a slight benefit of the doubt.
What did you think about the Cats win on Saturday, other than being glorious?
I texted you before the game and said that I don't think we're going to win this, because I think finals hoodoo, and also Collingwood in a final, you always got to be worried, especially after how they played last week.
Yeah.
But man, it was glorious.
Tell us about your love for the Cats. Give us some. You actually know. You're a bit more of a historian with the Geelong football team than I am. Give us some of your memories of going to Geelong, walking to Kinya Park.
So I grew up right near the ground.
Oh, you're in South Geelong, were you?
Yeah, I was in East Geelong, actually.
Yes.
But went to South Geelong Primary, which is pretty much next door. So, I mean, you're just around it. And back then, it's back when we were kids, football was pretty, in a way, it was quite amateurish in that, Gary Ablett, one of the greatest players of all time, used to give out icy poles at a frozen foods factory in Breakwater.
Did he?
Yeah. Like, I remember getting one, or going down and getting one from him.
When did you say that? At 3/4 time?
Not at 3/4 time. It was at like I don't know. It's like, you can't imagine that. It was
like a community day or something.
Yeah. I mean, they do it, but how hokey it would have been back then.
Yeah, Neville Bruns used to actually work at Sports Power.
Yeah, and he actually taught me. He was an emergency teacher.
Who? Neville
Bruns. When early on, like, he taught me at primary school for a few days when our art teacher got sick.
Yeah,
Everyone drew pictures of Neville Bruns.
That's a strange.
And my dad was a plumber, like I mentioned before. So he had, like, Andrew Buse worked with my dad. All these, Geelong players, half people don't probably care about them. Anyway, so I fell in love with it because we had, knowing Busey really well. He worked with Dad as a plumber. He'd get us like great tickets, and we'd go down into the rooms and stuff like that. So I grew up going, and then pretty much when I got into my teens into music, I kind of ditched footy because it was kind of like, it was like, oh, I'm a music guy now. Not interested in footy. And I stopped playing footy when I was like 17.
Oh, who'd you play for?
Eastern Suburbs.
Oh, yeah, mate.
I wasn't very. I wish I was good, but I just wasn't. I just didn't like getting hurt. I like to play music, and I thought if I get hurt, then I won't be able to play my guitar if I hurt my hands and stuff.
Yeah, I hated getting. I'm the same, but I didn't have music to fall onto. I just had my mum to cuddle. I hated football after quarter time.
Yeah,
it's like, this is serious. Like, we've got to keep going.
Yeah,
it's not. It hurts. Yeah. Footy hurts.
And then I moved to Melbourne, and me and my mate Ben moved in together. Ben from Cut Copy. Ben can cut copy. Yeah, we're both, high school mates as well. We moved in together and we had a video of the 1989 grand final we'd watch when we were drunk. We'd lose it every time. But it wasn't until I started going off and touring and I started missing it, I think. So it's probably around I started watching it when they started the basic online. You could listen to the radio. It was probably about 2006-ish, 2005, 2006. So I remember 2006 I had an online, a very basic online. I was in America for most of that year, online thing where you could watch the football. And it was hokey and it didn't work very well, but it sort of got me back into it. And then 2007, I was back, and that was the year that Geelong won. So it was kind of and I played at the grand final as well. So it was pretty.
Oh, get out. That's unbelievable.
Yep.
That is unbelievable.
It was pretty good, pretty lucky. But
talk about timing. That's I didn't know that. That would have been so fun. That's a great connection to the team. Have you wormed your way into being buddies with him just because you...
I used to, yeah. I mean, I'm buddies with Cam Ling, so I used to get down into the rooms after games and stuff, but, they're all too young now, mate. They don't know who I am.
And Lingy's off on doing other things now.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about Lingy this week, about a person that became, he wasn't the most... he wasn't your pin-up boy of a football club. He came from a forward line of juniors into being a raggedy tagger, liquid metal man. I'm just going to shut down your main opponent on the other team. Into media. Go on with it. Sorry, Lingy, but you got a rough head. And
he's very...
And he's brilliant.
He's one of those guys who I think he just gets along with everybody.
Yeah.
So he's quite, he just he's quite a warm guy. I was texting him yesterday, actually, while we were watching the game. And he's just a bigger fan as he was when he was like a little kid kicking socks around, But, I mean, I can prove my cats. My recording studio has Geelong paraphernalia in it. It's got this book, classic.
Oh, that's a classic book. I forgot about that. I've got a signed Gary Ablett senior jumper I just found yesterday in the back of my...
That's good.
But it's not a jumper that he wore. It's like a collector's edition with all the premierships, like a banner. Yeah. I feel like it devalues it, that it's a deliberate auction item.
Maybe. Still good.
Marky, what's the plans, mate, for the next couple of weeks and stuff? And you like to keep busy?
I'm just plugging away at things that I think are going to happen. I've got a few projects on the boil with coming up, but
are you going to play music again?
Or not, I don't know.
You going to play music again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with Live Nation on a few tours and stuff, but we're carrying on like it's all going to be opened up by April, but whether it is or not, I don't know. So we've got to carry on as if it's happening in case it does, but with a view to, I've already had, a few things pushed back to mid-year next year now, which is, it's fine, but sort of I'm used to having something on every couple of weeks, shows or something. So I'm used to traveling, and it's a bit weird, but, people have got it a lot worse than me at the moment, so I don't want to complain about it. I'm trying to not when it all started. I was telling you I started making podcasts like every other arsehole in the world.
Did you see my bio on you?
I did.
Likes to make unheard podcasts. What are the podcasts on that you've
recorded? Like 8 episodes of it.
On what?
On my podcast.
Yeah. What's the podcast about?
The podcast is called Know It All, and basically what I do is I talk to well-known people about what they do or what they're into aside from what they do. Like I talked to Steve Curry about fishing, and I just try and glean a little bit of, what they do, what they enjoy doing and what they love. I talked to Fitzy, the Nova.
Oh yeah.
Ex
Big Brother, ex Adelaide football player.
About breakfast radio and what it's like doing breakfast radio, at such a high level, and like, how do you live your life around it? And I talked to Vicar and Linda Bull about
are they local to you?
They are. They're in Fitzroy.
Yeah,
they're friends of mine. They about blood harmony, like that kind of harmony that you can only get with a brother and a sister and a sister, or a brother and a sister, sibling harmony, I guess. And about growing up, singing Tongan songs and and stuff like that. I talked to who else have I spoken to?
And what are you doing with them? And what?
Oh, I'm just recording them, and having them sit there and waiting for. I've just got to finish. I just want to finish the whole thing and then put it out, rather than try and do it every week, because that'd drive me nuts trying to do something every week. So I just thought I'll just get them, and they're not time stamped, so I don't really talk about Corona or anything. It's more Corona. I haven't called it that in a while.
What are you? Have you Rona?
COVID. People, we don't call it coronavirus anymore, do we? Call it COVID.
COVID-19. I've started saying 19.
Just calling it 19.
My partner says this whole coronavirus situation. She says that every time.
Situation.
This whole coronavirus situation. So just call it Rona.
I'm getting sick of it, but as is everybody. But it's I tell you what, having a toddler during this time has kept it pretty interesting, and I'm serious. It's probably helped a lot, because their routine doesn't change. I reckon if I didn't have a kid, I'd just be all over the place.
Why?
Oh, because with a kid, the kid has to gets up at the same time, goes to bed, snaps at the same time, goes to bed at the same time. So you've got a structure to your day, even if you don't have much on.
Which you think's really important. It is important.
But I've actually been quite busy working, because I've been helping my mate Ollie out with his food business, and because it's a food business, it's an essential service. So I've been doing just to keep myself busy. Because you know what I'm like, Troy. I'll say yes. I mean, I've worked on UFC fights. I've been in the band.
I was literally in my head collating some of the genres or the industries you've dabbled in. And it's that was the best, because I was a fight inspector for the UFC when they did the big Holm Rhonda Rousey fight, which I was at, and I saw your massive mug.
And you sent me a photo saying, this guy looks exactly like you, this guy in the ring. And I was like, that is me. That is me.
How did you get a gig? How did you get that gig? And what was it like being, again, front and center? Is that why they picked you?
Yeah. So what happened was, my mate Clanger, that's how he's known, he's one of the refs. He actually works for Richmond now. Did you see a video of a guy wrestling one of the players a few weeks ago?
Nah.
One of the Richmond players pre-game?
Nah.
Oh yeah, that's my friend Clanger. He's up in the hub with Richmond. He works with him, but he's also one of, I think he's one of, or the only Australian UFC ref that travels around the world. Anyway, he was on this fight in Melbourne, and he was, because he's from Melbourne, he was, they wanted to use their own people. They didn't want to use boxing commission fight inspectors, because it's very political, as with boxing and stuff. So they needed a bunch of people who could just, I trained with Klanger. That's how I knew him. They needed people who would be under pressure, would be able to just perform, simple tasks, really. It's pretty basic stuff. Basically, you just watch a fighter. When they arrive, you keep your eye on them. You just follow them around. You make sure they don't, they've got nothing in their bags. They're not allowed to bring food, water. It's pretty simple, And, I'd never really seen a UFC fight before, so I had to watch a bunch on TV.
Oh, really? Right.
No, I mean, I knew what it was, but I wasn't, I trained, and I trained with Klanger, and because he's an amazing, martial artist.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu, everything. He's one of those guys, kickboxing, can do anything. He also played VFA football.
VFA.
Yeah. And he played, he also owns an amazing pub in Adelaide called the Grace Emily. But he just asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, sure, man, sounds good. It was good. It was a good experience. And I got asked back. I was one of the few people that day that got asked back. I got asked to go to do one in Brisbane, a local one. And then there was one in the Philippines that I think ended up getting cancelled that I got asked to do. And then one in Japan. And I literally haven't been able to say yes to any of them because I've always been on tour, which is disappointing. I mean, they don't pay you hardly any money. It's like nothing.
What, just like 20 grand or something, just nothing, probably 20 grand.
No. It's honestly $300 for 12 hours work.
Pulling your leg.
But it's, and you start work at 5 because the fight starts so early. But it was really weird. It was quite an interesting look at humanity so basically my job was to shadow the fighter. The fighter would arrive and I would be with them from the moment they arrived. I'd just be with them and their team in their room while they're prepping. Just standing in the corner, some of them wouldn't talk to you. Some of them would. Some of the, some, especially if they were nervous, they'd start talking to you because they were just like trying to get out of their own head. And you just follow them around. If they went to the toilet, you wouldn't go in, but you just go to the front to the thing just to make sure that they weren't taking anything, they weren't doing anything they weren't meant to. And they're used to it as well. So it's not, it sounds weird, but every time they have a fight, someone's doing this. So, and they also, the weird thing was getting respect from these people. These like, human,
crushing machines.
Adonises, both male and female, just who could just crush me, paying me respect because, I am actually like a ref. Like I'm a part of
You're part of the result.
Yeah. Like I would basically be with them the whole time and then walk them out to the ring.
Yeah.
They get checked. I make sure no one passes anything, so you're one of those guys with no, like in America, there are all these big dudes with no, necks walking them out with like the jackets and the lanyard on. Yeah, that's me. Into the ring. And then you jump into the ring with them and then they're warming up. So you're in the ring, which is great.
I love it.
And then when the fight's on, you sort of sit behind their crew, make sure the crew doesn't stand up and make sure they're sitting down. And because, like the judges are right behind you. So it's pretty great. Pretty blood curdling sounds.
So you're hearing it all.
You're hearing and literally every fighter that I work for, because you start in the morning, you work it up. And the last fight I did was the one just before the main card. I wasn't on the main card because you flip flop. So you do the first fight and the third fight and you're always in the red or the blue. Like, I was always I was in the red room, right. So I was always looking after fighters coming out of the same dressing room, so they, it was really interesting. It was fun. It was a great day.
I'm just imagining.
I would do it again if they, if I'm not touring and they called me up, I'd be totally up for doing it again. It was really interesting experience. Quite a strange look at humanity. These people arrive and they're just so full of confidence and pumped up, and then they go get their asses kicked, and then you take them to the doctor and they're crying just like these guys that, you're like, this guy is amazing. Look at this guy. He's like this perfect specimen. And then after, they're just a crushed human, you take them to the doctor and then they get paid. They get paid after they go to the doctor. It's really weird. They just give them an envelope with a check in it. And once they're paid, you're allowed to leave.
Weird.
But yeah, just seeing this sort of the confidence out to the ring, pumped up and then defeated back to the doctor's tent. And then they're just like a shell of a person. Like it was quite a weird roller coaster. It was really enjoyable experience watching something I'd never done before, never seen before. But it's like I said, I'm one of those people who just like saying yes to stuff because you never know if you're going to enjoy it or not. So just say yes and then do it. And if it sucks, you just don't do it again. If you love it, do it again. I don't know. I get too bored doing nothing. I like to do different stuff all the time.
Not everyone's going to have the same opportunities as
it's
you
true,
have from those yeses.
That came from a...
You're right. But you're right. It's from saying yes. It doesn't matter where it takes you, but you're still... a yes is a big component to why you've tried so many different things, which rounds you out.
Never steered me wrong, Troy.
It's
never steered me wrong.
Hey, Marky, we're going to push off and get ready for our next guest in about 12 minutes. I'm going to play. I'm just going to play your track, yours that you started, that you based it up to. If you just joined the show, we are speaking to Mark Wilson, a man of multiple talents with a resume that has still got room to grow. Thanks, Marky, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate the yarn.
Thank you, man. Always.
Speak to you soon.